Hey, this is Fred with Rapid Topography. We're going to take a drive from Studio City, California today to the city of San Buenaventura, which everybody knows as Ventura, California. We're going to go through Malibu, a little bit of Malibu, actually a lot of Malibu, and the coastline. So now we're starting going eastbound on Ventura Boulevard, where this is the area called the Curve. A lot of little cute shops here, boutiques. What's that avenue here? And they made this median in the middle of Ventura Boulevard about maybe 25 years ago. It made it kind of a little more green, which is nice. Ventura Boulevard used to be a wagon trail actually before, or around the time that El Camino Real was the main way from LA to Ventura, the city of Ventura. This was an alternate. It was a wagon route, kind of hugged the side of the mountain, so it had a little bit less water issues when it rained and that kind of thing than El Camino Real. Making a left onto Laurel Canyon, past all the shops here, which are great. All right, and we're going over the storm channel that runs along Valley Heart Street. Laurel Canyon Boulevard is one of the historic passes through the Santa Monica Mountains, connecting the San Fernando Valley with Hollywood and Los Angeles. Long before modern traffic, this canyon route was used by early settlers and travelers moving between the valley and the city. By the early 20th century, it has been developed into a road, and it later became famous as the gateway to the Laurel Canyon neighborhood, home to many musicians and artists during the 1960s and 70s. US Route 101. We're going to take that going north, as they would say on the route, but it's actually going west here. Confuses everybody in LA, especially people who are visiting LA, because we're actually going to head west, but it's actually a north-south route. So this is what used to be El Camino Real. This is laid over about where the path was, so it was the main horse trail between the missions, the old Spanish missions that were set about a day apart in California by horse ride. Passing Woodman Avenue. San Monica Mountains are to our left, and you have the San Gabriel Mountains to our right. These are considered traverse ranges because they're going west and east, where most of the ranges in California are north-south. Fashion Square Mall sits just off the freeway. It was once an outdoor mall and is now an indoor one. Only as far as back in the 1940s and 50s, the San Fernando Valley was full of orange groves. And we're now going to pass Van Nuys Boulevard. That was a big cruising strip when I was a kid. Everybody would get in their cars and drive up and down Van Nuys Boulevard between about Oxnard and way up by maybe like Strathern, Roscoe. Places like Westwood kind of took that over. Everybody started walking around Westwood when I was in high school. And then after that was the Santa Monica Promenade, so everybody then went over to the Santa Monica Promenade. So there have been a lot of little places that people would gather on Friday and Saturday nights to scope each other out. And Universal City Walk became another socializing hub. So we're now going to get on the feeder lane that takes us to southbound Interstate 405. We're going over Sepulveda right now. To our right is a place that used to be called, I don't know if it's still there anymore, Golfland. So it was like miniature golf, but also lots of video games. So when I was a kid, we'd go there and play Pac-Man and, Donkey Kong and Tempest and all those fun games. Now we're going southbound on 405, Interstate 405. This is going through Sherman Oaks now, and on our left is the Sherman Oaks Galleria. It's now mostly an outdoor mall, but it used to be the famous indoor mall that Fast Times at Ridgemont High was shot at. It's funny because I saw the movie, and then I walked right out, and I was right on kind of the set, of the indoor mall at the time. I made a mistake here getting in the carpool lanes because everybody's going fast in the other lanes, but oh well. So we're now starting up the Sepulveda Pass. Sepulveda Pass, before the 405 was built, which I think it was built in stages from 1959 to 69. It took over the route that used to be Sepulveda Boulevard through the pass, which is still there. And it's a fun road to take. You go through a couple tunnels, or at least one tunnel, I think it's maybe one tunnel, and start down the other side. It's just a little longer route, obviously, but it depends on the traffic, because sometimes it can get you around this 405 traffic. This is probably one of the worst spots for traffic on the 405 between Sherman Oaks and the west side, Brentwood and all that. Another being down south near the airport and also into Orange County. I mean, the 405, everybody jokes in LA that it's like, oh gosh, I'm on the 405. It's always a difficult drive if you're on the 405, but it just depends on the time of day. Most of the time it is pretty busy. So what I did here, I just dissolved to the end. We just went through a ton of traffic. So we're now going to get off at Sunset Boulevard. And we're passing that an condo building that looks a lot like the Capitol Records building in Hollywood. They're both like circular. There it is. You can see it. And just above us is the Getty Center Museum, which is cool. J. Paul Getty Trust donated a lot of money towards that at some point. It's got great views. I've been to the museum. You can have a nice sunset. I had champagne up there one time, just looking at the sunset. It was part of something we were doing at Disney when I worked there. Now we're turning on to Sunset Boulevard, which starts in Los Angeles, like down by Silver Lake, and goes about 22 miles to the ocean. So we're starting at the 405 going west. We're also actually, just so you know, on the path that OJ took when he was O.J. Simpson, when he was fleeing the police and coming back home off the 405. That this is the route. This area in here is just really beautiful. So we have this road, and then just south of it we have San Vicente Boulevard, which is gorgeous, really great for running. When I was running a lot, I would run San Vicente Boulevard around the Brentwood Country Club, and then sometimes all the way down to Ocean Avenue in Santa Monica. It's just a great route. The houses here are gorgeous, just very expensive. So that is your way down. We just passed, I think that was Bundy. I wasn't watching carefully, but that might have been Bundy. That takes you straight down to the heart of kind of the shop center of Brentwood. Go south, make a left there. And pretty soon we're going to transition into the very beginning of the Pacific Palisades. Not quite yet, but very soon. If you're visiting LA, I would recommend this road. It's just pretty. I love this. End up in, well, you'll see where we end up. So right in here somewhere, I think we're going to officially transition into the Palisades. Now this is all considered the city of Los Angeles proper, so these are just more like area or postal zones kind of. We just passed actually OJ Street on the right. That was Rockingham. Now there's a canyon coming up here on the right. It's called Mandeville Canyon. There's a lot of homes up there, and then at the end you can go up into the hiking areas that go towards Mulholland, to what they call Dirt Mulholland, where there are a lot of hiking. This is considered you're actually in the Palisades. So there are two big curves here on Sunset Boulevard that go through the Palisades. Big sweeping curves. The Palisades were developed in the 1920s and 30s. They were founded by Methodist organizations, and they're known to have cliffside homes and ocean views. They've experienced a lot of wildfires over the decades too. Can you imagine being the guy that has to trim these edges here on the right? It's a really nice day in Los Angeles today. You can see it's clear. This was recorded in mid-March, so it's just a nice time of year. It's not too cold, too hot. It was actually, I think it was 79 degrees when I was driving here on this day. And then we're going to enter here into the next big sweeping curve for the Palisades. I think these long curves were designed to follow the elevation contour of the canyons that came out in each one of these areas. That was a quick light. And now we're about to get into the area that's the kind of the business and shopping center for the Palisades. On the left is I can never pronounce it, Chautauqua Canyon or Chautauqua Boulevard. That goes down to Santa Monica, to the PCH and kind of the very north end of Santa Monica. And now you can see, look at the areas. They really were devastated by the fires in here because there were so many businesses and homes in here, and it just looks kind of leveled. See, this is what I hadn't seen. I hadn't been down here for about a year. You can see I used to, when I was young, I was a courier, and I used to pick up escrow documents in this area, and it was always busy and lots of people shopping and doing their business and everything. So there's a few buildings standing, but then you can see some are gutted. And this is a year and 2 months after those big fires of 2024. So a lot of things have just been razed down and just are like lots now. Probably waiting for the results of insurance and that kind of thing. The hills behind here are just beautiful, and they're fun for hiking, as I said. Just miles and miles of Santa Monica Mountains. For people don't realize that the Santa Monica Mountains, as they go east, become the Hollywood Hills. It's the same, it's kind of hill range there. So you can see on the right here and the left, there's a lot of buildings missing. Look at this, it's just open. There's more missing homes and businesses here. What I decided to do is go around the block here because I remember seeing this area on TV just either while it was burning or after it burned. This specific street I remember because I know the area pretty well, so I just had to see this. It's just bizarre to see this, just everything gone. It's amazing that some of the palm trees, you can see they're singed up their stems, up their trunks, but there's some are still standing. See the ocean back there, and then we're going to turn back onto Sunset Boulevard westbound. I remember seeing videos of people taking off from LAX from airplanes as those fires were going on, the Altadena and the Pacific Palisades and Malibu fires. It just looked like a huge like volcano, of smoke in the air. It was just crazy. And now we're getting towards the very latter part of Sunset Boulevard here. There's some great hiking trails up here. I think it's called Los Leones. It's a little hard to park up there now, but when I was living in the west side, I'd go up there all the time, just go hiking with my girlfriend and stuff. It was great. Our dog. Now you can see the ocean. Okay, so we're coming in right here. If you saw any of the fire coverage at the time it was happening, there's a parking lot in front of us that goes to the left. That's where all the fire trucks were lined up. They had fire trucks from everywhere, literally Canada, Mexico, Kern County, every county around, Arizona. It was crazy. Okay, so we're on PCH going, well, it's northbound California State Route 1, but we're actually going westbound for most of this trip because PCH in this area is really mostly going westbound. You'll see as the sun gets a little lower later. Now, I know somebody who lived up here, and I wanted to see if her neighborhood had gotten affected by the fires. As like I said, I hadn't been here for over a year. So we're going to go up in this area. It's called Sunset Mesa. Very pretty. The Getty Center Villa is just to our right, so that's also a museum. I saw King Tutankhamun's stuff when it was there. So it's kind of a steep neighborhood. It was built up on this kind of plaza that overlooks the water. Very pretty. All like 50s houses, mostly 60s. Kind of maybe, I think they're like, I don't remember the square footage. They're probably around 2,000 square feet, maybe a little bigger. This street doesn't look like it was affected too much. But this you can see now, this did get affected in here. And as I turned onto her street, it was devastated. I couldn't believe it. Nothing left. Just a couple houses here and there. Really amazing. I just can't believe this happened. There have been fires that have come through here before, and they've been close. Like close by, you can see a little smoldering in the sky and on the hill, but this took everything out. You can see right here. This whole street, gone. Just with the exception of a few houses. When I used to hike and end up kind of from where I was showing you on Sunset Boulevard to up there, right on the ridge there. Unbelievable. I know that a lot of the places, at least on the ocean, they're having trouble with the insurance, I believe, because the insurance companies may have not calculated in for the fire coverage the cost not only of new construction materials, but the different kinds of zoning and permitting that's required now. So I think a lot of people may have to take their money and just go elsewhere. I don't know about this neighborhood, if people can get their houses rebuilt, but just devastating. I just had to see this area. I really thought about it when the fire was burning, what was going on in this area, because it's such a nice area. And I thought of her too, I'll admit. You can see Catalina out there. It's so clear on this day. All right, so we're going to head on back down to PCH. Thanks for coming with that little side trip with me. I just had to see for myself. There's Catalina, Santa Catalina. Behind it is San Nicolas, and then behind that I think is, San Clemente Island, and then San Nicolas. San Nicolas is the furthest one out. It's like 60 miles out. That's where that lady got stuck for like 18 years. She was a Native American, and sometime in the 1800s, and they'd removed the tribe. Well, you can see Santa Monica down there. It's so clear. Look at that way down there. They removed a tribe. I don't know if they were like Tongva, but they were Native Americans who were on those islands. They removed them from San Nicolas, but one lady got left behind for 18 years. She was called the Lone Woman of the Island or something. And Island of the Blue Dolphins is loosely based on that story, but it's amazing. They brought her back here, to Santa Barbara, I think, to the mission there, and then she quickly died within a few weeks because she didn't have the immunity, that everybody had naturally built to diseases that were on the mainland. So within a few weeks, I think, or maybe a month, I'm not sure, she passed away. They recorded her and there's I think one photograph left, but the mission had recorded her voice on some sort of old like gramophone or something, and they had also taken a lot of pictures of her. But the problem was, later there was a fire at that mission, so everything got wiped out except for, I believe it's just one photo that's left of her. So if you look her up, the Lone Woman of San Nicolas Island, I think you would put, that picture is the only, I think, remaining picture that I believe is around. You can see all the houses missing on the left because there were houses here. They're all gated, so that was all devastated by the fire. I don't mean to make this whole thing about the fire, but I just hadn't seen it. I just had not seen this with my eyes for since before. Last time I was down in LA was probably, and I mean this part, like the west side, was probably like a year and a half ago, so that's why I hadn't seen anything. I go down, as you know, to Burbank more frequently, and also to Manhattan Beach more frequently, but not to this west side as much anymore. Pacific Coast Highway is so pretty. It's largely undeveloped in a way because it had been controlled by a family. I think they were called the Ringe family, and they first didn't even want to allow a road coming here. The tunnel that's in Santa Monica was actually a train tunnel that went to about where Temescal Canyon comes down. It went out to a pier there, picked up oil or whatever out from the pier, goods, whatever, and then it would go back. And what they did is they built PCH over that and then continued it north. But the Ringe family really tried to block, I believe, any development north of there. But they finally got the PCH done. It was originally the Roosevelt Highway, and it was supposed to go up to all the way through Oregon and Washington as the Roosevelt Highway. I don't think they ever got it funded that way, but it became California State Route 1, and then it kind of goes on and off and gets realigned with different other routes for a while, like the 101 and other routes. In Santa Monica, it goes along Lincoln Boulevard for a while. These parts of it up through here are so pretty. I just love them. Going up to Ventura, Oxnard, Ventura. So green. The hills here right now are really green after the rains. We had a lot of rain this year. Right now the various reservoirs in California, as of this publishing, are full. Like they're 80 to 90% full of their capacity, and they're like 110, 120% of their normal rain holding amount, water holding amount for each year. They're way over the average. So you have Lake Shasta's the largest at 4.5 million acre feet. You have Lake Oroville, which is 3.4 million acre feet, and then it goes down from there. You can look on, there's a US, I think, GS site that shows the lake levels. I can put it in the description if you're curious about that. But they're all full right now. So it shows you we did get a lot of rain. It was kind of spread nicely this year. Instead of just some huge amount over a week or something, it was just different storms that came in. So it's just kind of the way you want it. So it's not going to create really bad runoff. We're going to have to do a little dissolving here too, because right here by the pier, we just got into a ton of traffic. So somewhere in here, I'll probably dissolve a little bit. But we're getting into that little area where you have the pier, you have some shops, a lot of apartments, right in the heart of like the surfing part of Malibu. That restaurant on the right had to have once been a KFC. See the bucket? So we're at the pier now, just passing the pier. And there are 3 points to the surfing, 3 like surfing points. I don't remember what they're called, like inner, outer, middle or something, but there are names for them. But the surfers It's a good spot because everything's heading west here, so the waves are coming from a westerly direction, and they're hitting it obliquely because the coast is kind of going west here. So you get some tasty waves on the right swell. That was my Jeff Spicoli impression. We're crossing over Malibu Creek now. There's parking on the left for it, just after the bridge. There are a couple of easy riders, but I'm really dating myself on this video, aren't I? I was concerned about this area too during the fires. I wanted to see if my childhood house was still standing. When I was a kid, we had a house on Malibu Road, and as we make this turn, there was Market Basket on the right, which is a little market, and it's now at Gelson's. You see Team Z there all the time looking for celebrities to follow. And the Colony's on our left. That's where Johnny Carson and Barbra Streisand and David Letterman had their houses. This is Malibu Road. It's nice because it's a private beach there. You can just walk, and there are rocks along there. Really pretty. There's a public beach at the very end. And what's nice about this area is that the little bluff on the right of us separates you from PCH, which has now risen up. It's a little higher than that. So it's kind of quiet here, actually. You don't really hear the PCH very much. I used to ride my bike along here. It was good because it's not too hilly, but it's got little hills along the way. So I can see so far there's been no fire effect here that I can see. There have been fires here and mudslides here. It gets really bad. I'm sure the insurance is so expensive now for a house, if they even get insured here. I don't even know how you do it. You have mudslides, fires, earthquakes. The insurance headache trifecta.
I thought you'd live forever. I always thought we'd be together. A lifetime of moments boiled down to a phrase. In an off chance I notice you show your age. Just a bird in a cage, too weak to sing again.
Okay, just stopping to check out my former house. Well, everything's fine here. This time. It's just it's one of those situations where you live in a place that's gorgeous and there are reasons why it's gorgeous. You have a lot of natural things that can happen. You know, it's one of those kind of prices you pay. Okay, on the left is the free beach, so you can just park here and go down to the beach. There's kind of a gate that separates that from the private beach. And in order to go north on PCH, what we have to do is we have to just kind of turn around up here. Pepperdine University is in front of us. Great school, great MBA program.
I guess I thought you'd live forever.
So make our U-turn. You can see the beautiful ocean there. And we're going to go north again on Pacific Coast Highway, California State Route 1.
In the afternoon, you were just there right beside me, taken away too soon.
Malibu Seafood is up here on the right, and it's really good. When they redid the numbering system, I think it was in the 1950s or somewhere in there, for the different routes and interstates, all that, they were developing the interstate system. They wanted to, I think, originally name the routes with lower numbers on the west coast, going to higher numbers on the east coast. I'm not sure how much of that was actually tracked like that, but that's why the 99, I mentioned in another video, California State Route 99, they're trying to make that into an interstate. It's going to take a little while, but they're going to make it either like 7 or 9, because then 5 is to the west of that. So our next area that we'll kind of recognize is an area called Point Dume, which is a big point out here. It's got Paradise Cove, which Paradise Cove was, they've done a lot of shooting there for like TV, like the Rockford Files. Jim Rockford was supposed to have lived in his trailer there. Not in the first few episodes, but I think after maybe the first year he was living in Paradise Cove in his trailer. It's also just kind of like a weather point. They usually say like from Point Dune to the Mexican border, there's going to be this kind of weather, and from Point Dune north, they just kind of track the weather in different sections of California, and Point Dume is one of those markers they use, because if you look at a map, it really points out. And then from there, you start going a little bit more north for a while instead of west, but then it starts going back west out to Santa Barbara. So we're now like on the kind of the hill from Point Dume. From the valley side, you can take Canyon Dune Road from the 101 to get here. And we already passed, I'm sorry I didn't mention it, but I know why I didn't mention it, because we're on Malibu Road. But while we're on Malibu Road, Malibu Canyon comes from the 101 in the valley, San Fernando Valley. It connects to the PCH, but we didn't see it because we were on Malibu Road at that moment. But when we turned, and I talked about Market Basket, it was just another like half mile up to the right. I'm going to turn down into Paradise Cove, but what I'd forgotten, what I did is that it's like a pay area, and I just wanted to check it out, so I didn't really feel like paying $10 or $15. So it was also really busy this day, so I just did a U-turn here. But you can kind of see down at the bottom there, see? That used to be all dirt instead of a parking lot when I was younger, but that's where you can go out and just lay out on the beach. It's great. Just a beautiful area. A lot of people, as you'll see, just walk down this road here. They park up on PCH so they can go visit it. Squeeze me. Okay, so we're gonna make another left here onto PCH. Just keep going north. Next up is our two beaches I used to go to all the time when I lived in the valley. I used to go to Westward Beach and Zuma Beach. So Zuma Beach is the main area here. We're gonna get to the bottom of this hill. It's very wide. It's kind of, again, if you look at a map, you'll see Point Dume comes out at a point, so a lot of the sand that comes down from the coast and storms, it gets kind of deposited here, so you have really wide beaches here. It's kind of like the South Bay. Torrance Beach, Redondo Beach, Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach have really wide beaches because they're in the very southern part of the South Bay by Palos Verdes, which is a point. And so the same phenomenon happens here. You have just really wide beaches. Just north of here is a beach called Broad Beach. We used to have friends that lived up here. That beach, for some reason, has lost a lot of its sand because it's a little bit further north, but it was called Broad Beach for that reason. It was very wide, you know. But anyway, so as we get to Zuma, we're about to go down this last hill here, and that's where you turn into Zuma, coming up in a second. If you make a left, you go all the way along the hillside, south again, you'll get to a beach called Westward Beach. So it's just like a little sliver of Zuma Beach. And it's just a nice little area. It's a little, I won't say it's not private or anything, but it's just a little quieter because everybody tends to go to Zuma. So that's where you turn left right here. These areas are great, good waves. Takes a certain swell. I can't remember now, it's been a while, but what's great on the internet, which we didn't have when I was a kid, you can just look on the internet and see what the swells are. I mean, it's so fast. I used to have to call this number, and they did this beach report for the LA lifeguards, and all the way from, I think, Zuma all the way down to the South Bay, and they give you, like, the lifeguards will all report in at, like, whatever, 7 a.m. what the swells were, and then some central office will record for each beach what the swells were, how big they were, how good the waves were. And so I'd call it 3 to 4 feet today. That's perfect for, like, bodyboarding or whatever, or surfing. That's how we used to do it, but now it's great. I mean, it's kind of like GPS. I used to, when I was in high school, beginning of college, I used to deliver pizzas, and I used to do it using the Thomas guide. Now, I mean, can you imagine if I had GPS back then? Would have made more money, probably. So this is still kind of Zuma, and coming up will be, I think it's called Trancas. I didn't usually go up here, and there's County Line after that where you go into Ventura County. I didn't usually go up this far to go boogie boarding or whatever, but we used to take drives up here. Now I think we're at, actually this is about where Broad Beach is on the left here. It's been a while since I was up here. Again, the beach has lost a lot of its sand there, but it's still gorgeous houses, really big square footage houses there on the sand. This is where you can see that the area has become even more rural, you know, fewer houses. There's just a point where there's no more houses. There are all these hidden beaches up here. El Matador, La Piedra, El Pescador. When I was working at Disney Animation, I had a buddy there named Jeff. We would get up at 5 in the morning on Saturdays and just meet each other here at one of these 3 beaches and just go bodyboarding. And it was great. You just spend like the morning here. There are little turnouts for these beaches. You just have to look for them really carefully. They're very small parking lots, and not a lot of beachfront. Like just mostly rocky, I'd say. It's been a while since I was there. Maybe a little sand, but it's really just mostly for surfing and that kind of thing. Just, you know, in California, there's a thing with surfing where surfers don't really want bodyboarders around them, and bodyboarders would rather not be in the way of surfers most of the time so they don't get hit. Surfers and bodyboarders just seem to have an adversarial relationship. Now we're coming up to an area called Leo Carrillo. That's where those people were walking their dog across the road there. A lot of rocks, perfect place to take photos. Like if you take a photo, you got a postcard photo on a day like this. just perfect, you know, just point and shoot. Little caves, there's a cave there, right, a tidal cave, it's cool. Parking lot, I think, is on the right side that we passed. You wouldn't have seen it on this video, it's kind of hidden. Now, PCH is also known in the motorcycle community, especially Harleys, as a great place just to get on your Harley, go up for the weekend, go with a bunch of people and just ride. I mean, you can see it's just the perfect place to ride your bike. I think if I had a Harley, I'd ride here, and I'd also ride in like the Mojave Desert, you know, just out in the desert on like 2-lane roads. Those would be the two places I'd love to ride my Harley if I had one. But up here, there's a place called Neptune's Net. It's a big hangout for everybody in the weekend who has their motorcycles and, you know, get some good eats and just kick back, look at the ocean, you know, socialize a little bit. It's great. And here's Neptune's Net on the right. Now you can see out on the left, as the camera is we're going to rotate again to the left, you'll see another island out there. That's another one of the Channel Islands. I believe that one's going to be Santa Cruz Island. As the drive continues north, the coastline begins to change character. Malibu's long stretch of residential beachfront gradually gives way to the rugged cliffs and the protected coastline of Point Mugu State Park. This part of the Pacific Coast Highway is always considered one of the most scenic segments of the entire route. The Santa Monica Mountains press right up against the Pacific Ocean here, creating a narrow corridor where the highway winds between steep hillsides and the open ocean. These mountains are part of the Transverse Ranges, one of the few mountain systems in California that run east-west rather than north-south. The result is this dramatic meeting of mountains and ocean that makes the drive feel almost cinematic. On the right up here is La Jolla Canyon. It's such a nice hike up to a big plateau on the top. And then if you hike a little north of the plateau, you can actually look over the entire Oxnard area. It's amazing. We're passing the sand dunes on the right. You can slide down. People use like cardboard and you can slide down the sand dunes. Just park on the side of the road. Just be careful because you're on a very busy road here. Out in the Pacific, just beyond the horizon on a clear day, lie the Channel Islands, sometimes called the Galapagos of North America. The 8 Channel Islands are San Miguel, Santa Rosa, Santa Cruz, Anacapa, Santa Barbara, Santa Catalina, San Clemente, and San Nicolas Islands, 5 of which make up the Channel Islands National Park. Because the islands were separated from the mainland for thousands of years, many plant and animal species evolved there that exist nowhere else on Earth. The waters around them are also part of a protected marine sanctuary, rich with kelp forests, dolphins, sea lions, and migrating whales. Ferries regularly depart from nearby Channel Islands Harbor in Oxnard, taking visitors out to islands like Anacapa and Santa Cruz for hiking, kayaking, and wildlife viewing. Pretty close up here now, we're getting to an area called Mugu Rock. Do you see how the hillside if you drew the line, it would just connect to the rock? They blasted out that section in between because the road used to go to the left of that rock. You can see remnants of it, but they had to blast out the rock here so they could continue because that part of it kept on falling into the ocean and having problems. A lot of that old concrete, because it was concrete at the time, is actually laying down on the rocks below where the level was. So if you walk out there, there's a gate there, but if you were to walk out there, I'm not suggesting you do, but if you did, you'd see it laying down there. Just north of Point Mugu Rock, the highway passes alongside Naval Base Ventura County, one of the major naval installations on the west coast. The base combines the facilities at Point Mugu and Port Hueneme and plays a significant role in naval aviation testing, missile defense systems, and coastal operations. The long runways and wide open coastal land here give the military space for testing and training that would be difficult to find in more densely populated areas.
So take me home. We can run away to another place, somewhere we can be alone. Take me home. Get you elevated till we're levitating, and you know that I've been dreaming about you, girl. No, it ain't.
This is still California State Route 1. The Santa Monica Range ended behind us. Continuing north, the road enters the Oxnard Plain, one of the most productive agricultural regions in California. The fertile soil here supports large fields of strawberries, celery, peppers, and other crops that supply markets throughout the state and across the country. Oxnard itself was founded in the late 1800s as a center for sugar beet processing, and the original American Sugar Beet Company factory helped shape the town's early economy. Today, the city has grown into the largest in Ventura County, with Channel Islands Harbor providing access to boating, seafood restaurants, and ferries that travel out to Channel Islands National Park. The Channel Islands were home for thousands of years to the Chumash people and farther south to the Tongva. Archaeologists believe that the first island inhabitants arrived by boat at least several thousand years ago, likely traveling from the mainland in plank canoes across the Santa Barbara Channel. Over time, island communities developed their own variations of mainland languages and cultures.
So you wanna know my name? I hope you got a lot.
See the mountains up there? That's part of the San Ynez-Topa Range. There's a route, California State Route 33, that goes to Maricopa through Ojai there. There are a lot of curves, but it's a really pretty drive. I've actually got a video of it coming southbound.
So pardon me for acting wise. I know what hides behind those eyes.
You know, one time I remember I took a boat from Port Hueneme to Santa Cruz Island, and it was probably about 2 hours there and then 2 hours back. The seas were a little rough that day. I knew they would be, not really rough, but just some big swells. And so I brought with me a whole bunch of Dramamine, because I don't usually, I don't often go on boats. What I did was, so I started like kind of downing them before I got on the boat. As we went out to the island, people on the boat who almost nobody had Dramamine for some reason, everybody started getting sick. So it was literally like almost every single person on the boat got sick. And though I gave my remaining Dramamine away to a few people, it was too late. You really have to take that stuff before you get on a boat. And I got to the island. I hiked around Santa Cruz, which was cool. It was like hiking in the Santa Monica Mountains. That's what it feels like. I also went to camp in Catalina Island Boys Camp, which was CIBC, and I used to do a lot of hiking there as well. These islands, they really just feel like the Santa Monica Mountains, and you're just in the middle of the ocean. The farmland around Oxnard is especially famous for its strawberries. Ventura County consistently ranks among the top strawberry producing regions in the entire United States, and much of that production comes from the fertile Oxnard Plain. The combination of mild coastal temperatures, ocean fog, and rich alluvial soil creates the ideal growing conditions. Unlike colder regions, strawberries here can be harvested for much of the year, which helps supply grocery stores across the country. During harvest season, you'll often see long rows of workers moving slowly through the fields, picking berries that may end up on supermarket shelves just a day or two later. As we pass into the heart of Oxnard, we're going to make a turn on to US 101 in a few minutes and then start heading west again to our final destination. All right, and we're going to head on to US 101 northbound, which is really westbound. As we continue northward, the landscape begins transitioning into California's central coast. US 101 follows a corridor that has been used for centuries, first by indigenous Chumash people traveling along the coast, and later by Spanish explorers and missionaries moving between the early California settlements. Today, the highway traces that same route along farmland, coastal bluffs, and small seaside towns that make up the beginning of the Central Coast region.
Sitting on my back, packing my bags, hoping that someone calls me back, planning my next trip on a map, alone and traveling round the world. And I would wish that someone asked me to.
A few miles farther up the coast, the drive reaches Ventura, officially named San Buenaventura, after the Spanish mission founded here in 1782. Ventura retains a relaxed coastal character with its historic downtown, surf culture, and long piers stretching out over the Pacific Ocean. The Ventura Pier, originally built in the 1870s, remains one of the oldest wooden piers in California and offers sweeping views of the coastline and the Channel Islands offshore. The beachfront neighborhoods around Pierpont and the nearby State Beach are popular spots for biking, walking, and watching the sunset along this stretch of the Pacific coast.
Next time I pack my bags. Do you know how it feels to travel non-stop, to live in a train with nowhere to go, and everybody knows me around the globe, but when I'm down I've got nowhere to go. The sun and the moon are my only friends, so I really need a home. My plane goes in an hour and I have to go, but I'll leave you this short letter just to let you know that I would like you to be my home and take you everywhere I go. So if you come with me, I'll never leave you alone. And if we find a place to build our home and tell our friends the stories of our journey, please come with me. And I love the adventures that I have. Love the
Now you can see the sun starting to get a little lower and it's almost directly in front of us, so we are going westbound indeed.
a warm house of friends to tell them. Let me tell them my story. I'd really like
You know, California's tilted, kind of like at a sort of north by northwest angle, so the main routes, a lot of them are going partially west, like Interstate 5 and 99 up and down the spine of California.
And I love the adventures that I have. I just like someone to hold my hand. Next time I pass.
All right, we're getting off here in Ventura. Go through this little neighborhood here, and we're going to head to Estate Beach right at the end. San Buenaventura State Beach. Pay a little toll. And find a place to park. As the afternoon light starts to drop here along the coast, you can see why people have been drawn here for so long. The mountains, the ocean, the open farmland. It's a pretty special part of California. Thanks for riding along with me today.
Misa meow meow.
If you like what you saw, please give the subscribe button a pop and check out another video here.